recording. I'd request you guys to kindly mark your attendance. Oh, I only have 2 people to teach today. Okay, Abdullah Ahmed just joined us. Good day, Abdullah. Manal, can you please open up your cam so I can have a look at you, bete? I should know my students by their face. Okie dokie. Have I taught your sibling, Manal? Any of your elder siblings? You're muted. Have I taught any of your elder siblings?
Yes, ma'am.
Whom?
Umar Ahmed.
अरे देखा ना. Very good, very good.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम।
मुझे शक हो रहा था कि ये उमर की बहन है प्यारी सी. वालेकुम अस्सलाम. How are you, sweetie?
फाइन मैम।
Sorry? Yes. Manal, you have a brother named Yazdan?
No.
No, this is a different Manal. That's Manail. This is Manal. All right. Since I have, mashallah, quite a bunch of students today, let's yes, okay. Let's start our lesson. We did report writing yesterday, and while we were doing the report writing, we came across the idea of using different kinds of clauses, incorporating, incorporating different kinds of sentences in a report. The report, one of the important features was to use small simple sentences, short, simple sentences, but also incorporate one or two compound and at least one complex sentence. So, keeping that in mind, I have prepared the lesson for today and for tomorrow. In today's lesson, we are going to have a look at clauses. Um, and then tomorrow, we will have a look at the different kinds of sentences. Remember, this is something that you guys have done in detail in grade 6. So it should not be something difficult for you. Wherever needed, because I have taught grade 6 for 3 consecutive years, I give a lot of reference to what you have studied in grade 6. Okay? And you will notice that in your pre-O, you will come across a lot of things which have been previously taught to you through that set of books called Oxford Discover. Okay, so I am in a good or bad, that is completely up to you to decide. But I have this habit of referring to your grade 6 book. So if you have your grade 6 books on hand, well and good, you can always refer to them whenever I mention something. If not, it's completely okay. Okay? For today's lesson, we will start with the idea that um, the base of English language are the alphabets, or for any language, the base are alphabets. Alphabets combine together to form meaningful words. Words combine together to form phrases, and at times they combine together to make clauses. Now, what is a clause? We will come to phrases in another lesson. Today, I want to focus on clauses. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a predicate. Predicate basically mean a sentence which has a verb, the portion of a sentence which has a verb in it. Okay? Subject is the performer of the action. Ooh. Anybody who is performing the action is called the subject of the sentence. The verb is simply your, oh, where did my pen go? The verb can be considered as the action, obviously. And a predicate is the portion of a sentence or a clause which is everything after the verb, other than the subject. Whatever is left behind in a sentence or in a clause is called the predicate. Okay? Every complete sentence, every complete, oh, sorry, every complete sentence is made up of at least one clause. Let's look at three different examples. The first one says, Michael bought a new computer. One sentence, one clause. Over here in this sentence, you can see, oh, clear karna tha humne. Michael is performing the action, hence he is the subject. What action is he performing? He has bought something. He was doing this action in the past, and he has done the action of buying. Now, what has he bought? A new computer. Now, from the verb onwards, the rest of it is the predicate. It's not important that you remember the word predicate. The important thing is that you learn to identify the subject and the verb within the sentence. Okay? So the first one is a complete sentence which is made up of only one clause. Let's look at sentence number 2. Michael bought a new computer, but he still has the old one. Again, Michael is the subject, bought is the verb. And if you notice, it says on the bottom, or sorry, at the end, it says one sentence made up of two clauses. The first one is Michael bought a new computer. This is one sentence, first clause. And your second clause is from here till here. Again, he is the subject, has is the verb. So, although there are two different clauses, but each clause has its own subject and its own verb. Okay? Coming to number 3. Although he still has his old one, Michael, oh, what did I do? Although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. Again, this is one sentence with two different clauses. This time, the main idea is over here, which was over here in the previous sentence. And now, here is your second clause, which has the same idea as this one. If you notice, Michael is the subject. He has performed this action. Over here, has is the action. In this one, we saw he is the subject and has is the verb. Over here, he is the subject and has is the verb. Okay? So if you notice in these three sentences, there are three complete sentences. The first one has only one clause. The rest of the two have two different clauses. Now we are going to, this is time for the post-mortem or further studies. We will further investigate how clauses can, the different types of clauses. Clauses are mainly of two different kinds. You have the independent clause and the dependent clause. Remember, now is my turn to refer to grade 6. You had a lot of exercises in which you had to mention India is the city, Agra is the city where Taj Mahal is located. Do you remember that exercise?
I think.
Okay, doesn't matter. I'll send a picture of it and you guys will remember. Okay, this is basically going to be the same thing. I'll try. I still have the grade 6 books with me. I'll share the pages with you guys. Just have a. It's not necessary that you study them in detail. Just have a look at them. I'll share them in the WhatsApp group. Just have a look at them, and a lot of fond memories will return. Okay, and they will be definitely helpful in explaining some of the concept that you will be learning today. Let's look at the independent clause. Let's look at the definition first. An independent clause or a main clause makes sense by itself. It expresses a complete thought. It is a complete sentence in itself. It is not dependent on any other information. Okay? An independent clause can exist completely on its own. It is a complete thought. That is why it exists on its own. Michael bought a new computer. It is one independent clause. A complete thought is being presented in this sentence. But when I say Michael bought a new computer, but he still has the old one, these are two independent clauses. But how are they coming together? They are joined by a coordinating conjunction.
A connective or conjunction.
Exactly. You can call this either a coordinating conjunction or you can call it connector. Okay? Both the words can be used. At times, certain teachers or certain books use the word linkers or linking devices for them as well. Okay? But then when you talk about linking devices, there are a lot of linking devices, like the ones we did yesterday for your report writing. They were also linkers. So linkers or linking devices is it's a broad uh, terminology. I would rather use the word connector or a coordinating conjunction for such words. Now, the important thing in this sentence is that there are two independent clauses. How? We already know, we have established the fact that Michael bought a new computer is an independent clause. He still has the old one. If we simply only look at this sentence without everything before it, does it express one complete thought? He still has the old one. Is the idea complete?
No.
How come?
He still has the old one by itself is not complete, but with Michael bought a new computer.
No, the thing is, the idea is complete. Even if you remove everything else, okay? Even if you remove everything else, the idea is still complete. Okay? How? Because he still has his old one. It's not important to know what we are talking about. Okay? He still has his old one. The statement in itself, the idea is complete. What he has, what old thing are we talking about? That is not important. But the main idea of having something which he previously owned, that idea is complete in itself. Hence, we can say that it is an independent clause. Okay? The third statement, although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. The bolded portion, Michael now has a new computer, is the independent clause. Michael now has a new computer. So if we only look at this portion, this is an independent clause. Michael now has a new computer. All of this is extra information. This information is, even if this information was not there, this idea would still be complete. Hence, this is the main clause or the independent clause. Clear? Moving onwards, we come to the dependent clause or a subordinate clause. A dependent clause or a subordinate clause does not make sense by itself. That is, it is an incomplete thought on its own. It does not express a complete thought. It requires the independent clause to complete its meaning. Although he still has his old one, if we write only this portion from this sentence here, if we only take the initial chunk, although he still has his old one, and put a full stop at the end, this chunk does not make sense on its own. Without the independent clause, a dependent clause is a sentence fragment. Okay? With simple as it is. Over here in this sentence, although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. This is the main clause or the dependent clause. This, on the other hand, is the independent clause. And this over here is the dependent clause, also called as the subordinate clause. This clause requires this one to convey its meaning. On its own, it will be called a sentence fragment. Why? Because the meaning is not fully conveyed. Clear? Whenever a portion of a sentence does not make sense on its own, it will be considered a subordinate clause. Clear? A dependent clause, I'm reading over here. A dependent clause usually begins with a subordinating conjunction. Okay? This is important. While the dependent clause might, when you join two independent clauses together, you require a coordinating conjunction. On the other hand, whenever you begin a subordinate clause or an independent clause, it will definitely begin with a subordinating conjunction, which is also a relative pronoun, or which can be a relative pronoun, or some other word that causes it to become dependent. A dependent clause will make sense only when attached to an independent clause. In this sentence, although he still has his old one, although is a subordinating conjunction. He still has his old one. Without the conjunction, the clause becomes independent. Okay? If you remove this, he still has his old one, is an independent clause. Clear? But when you add although to it, it becomes a dependent clause. See how a mere use of a subordinating conjunction has converted a dependent clause into an independent clause. Someone has asked me something in the chat box. Okay, it's just the attendance. Okay. Michael now has a new computer, although he still has his old one. Combined with an independent clause, the dependent clause makes sense. Okay? Earlier on, Instead of this, we had but, which was a coordinating conjunction. When you use a coordinating conjunction, the sentence is still a dependent clause. Okay? The idea is complete. But with the use of a subordinating conjunction, it has become a dependent clause. It requires the main clause, which is this one, to convey its meaning. Dependent clauses, oh wait. Dependent clauses can come after, before, or in the middle of the independent clause. Now we're going to have a look at all three. 1, 2, 3. There are three conditions or three ways how you can incorporate independent clauses, or how you can combine independent clauses along with dependent clauses. Michael now has a new computer, although he still has his old one. This is going to be the first one after. This is the main clause, or the dependent, sorry, not dependent, but independent clause. Okay, this is the independent clause, and this one is the dependent clause. The dependent clause is coming after the main clause or the independent clause. Michael now has a new computer, although he still has his old one. Category 2, before the independent clause. Over here, this one, clear kar dete hain. This one is the dependent clause, and this one is the independent clause. This is number 2. Although he still has his old one, Michael now has a computer. Dependent clause before the independent clause. And the last one, Michael, although he still has his old one, now has a new computer. This is 3, middle of the independent clause. Okay? Wahi wala hai. If you notice, Michael now has a computer. Michael now has a new computer. But after the subject, we have written down the independent clause, and then we have completed the rest of our dependent clause. Dependent clause inside the independent clause. Clear? Now, I have a little video for you in which any ambiguity will be cleared. Please do excuse me because this is basically a video by a South Indian teacher. You might not like his accent. And
He has an ex.
sorry?
Nothing, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, no. I am not advertising anybody. Unfortunately, nobody has paid me to advertise them. Ah. Wait, let me वो क्या करते होते हैं share sound करते होते हैं ना ठहर जाएं. Just a
Ma'am,
wee
why
bit.
don't you just download AdBlock?
I download what?
Skip ads.
AdBlock.
I am not good with technology, so you can always help me out, and I'm always ready to explore and expand myself. What do you call it? Professionally and technologically. So come again, Shakar. What should I do?
Download AdBlock.
Type it down in, what do you call it, the chat. Give me the link. All right. Should I begin the video? The video is worth 6 minutes. So, and we are at 11:27 right now. Your class will maximum go till 11:35 after the video ends and we bid goodbye to each other. Okay? Remember, this video is going to be your resource for today. It is going to explain any concept that I might have left. And once I post today's lesson on Google Classroom, I will share what you call it, a worksheet for you guys. Okay? Which you will need to take a print of. You have the weekend coming. It's not necessary that you get it printed today. You can take a printout if you have a printer at home. If not, you have the weekend
Yes,
to
ma'am, I
complete
have it.
all of your get printouts over the weekend and complete your exercises. Okay? It's better that you wait, because tomorrow again because I'll be covering the topic of sentences tomorrow. I might post more worksheets for tomorrow, so it's better that you take the printouts together. Clear? If you do not have a printer at home and you need to go to the market for it.
Ma'am, I have a printer at
Very
home.
good, very good. Those of you who have it, very well done. Those who don't,
Lucky.
you can
It's
wait.
very big also.
Oh, yes. You can wait for the weekend, or let's say Friday, to get your printouts. So here we go
I
with
can
the
also
video.
get today, ma'am.
Yes, if possible. Here we go.
Hello friends, welcome to Free Grammar Lessons.
I hope you can
Today
hear it
we are
well.
going to dig deep
Yes,
into
ma'am.
clauses
Please
and their
do excuse
types.
his
So
accent.
let's get started.
He has explained
So
things
what
very well.
is a clause? It is a group of related words. It has a subject and verb combination. And it has a complete meaning by itself. You can consider a simple sentence as a clause. For example, he plays cricket regularly. Now, is this a clause? For that, we will check whether it is satisfying all the three conditions that we just discussed. Is it a group of words? Yes, it is. Here, he is the subject, plays is the verb, so it has a subject-verb combination. And the whole sentence, he plays cricket regularly, makes complete meaning by itself. Hence, we can say it is a clause. Now, clauses are mainly divided into two parts based on their usage. It may be independent clause or dependent clause. An independent clause is actually a complete sentence by itself. It doesn't need any other clause for its existence. For example, you may sit. Here, you is the subject and sit is the verb, and the whole sentence is giving a complete thought by itself. So, it's an independent clause. Then what is a dependent clause? It has a subject and a verb, but it doesn't have a complete thought by itself and is dependent on independent or main clause for a complete thought. For example, wherever you lie. Here, you is the subject and like is the verb, and the whole sentence is having a meaning as well, but it's incomplete. Now let's add a main clause to this clause. You may sit, and now the whole sentence becomes you may sit wherever you like. Now here the entire thought is complete with one main or independent clause and one dependent clause. This is all about dependent clause. Now dependent clause are mainly divided into three types: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. Let's discuss about each of them. So what is a noun clause? Noun clause is a group of words having subject and verb of its own, and it acts as a noun in the sentence. For example, I fear that I will fail. Here, that I will fail is a clause as it is a group of words having subject and a verb, and the whole clause is acting as an object of the verb fear. So it's a noun clause. Let's look into one more example of it. That you have come pleases me. Here, that you have come is a noun clause as it is acting as a subject of the verb pleases. So basically this clause does the work of noun. Now let's look into the next type of clause, adjective clause. Adjective clause is a group of words having subject and a verb of its own, and it acts as an adjective in the sentence. Now, what does adjective do? They describes noun, and so does the adjective clause. For example, the umbrella which has a broken handle is mine. Here the clause which has a broken handle is an adjective clause as it has a subject and a verb of its own and is describing the noun umbrella. Let's look into one more example. He met a girl whose eyes were blue. Here, whose eyes were blue is an adjective clause, and the clause is having a subject and a verb, and it is describing a noun girl. So basically this clause does the work of an adjective. Now let's look into next type of clause, adverb clause. Adverb clause is a group of words having subject and a verb of its own, and it acts as an adverb in the sentence. Now what does adverb do? They modifies verb, adjective or other adverbs in the sentence, and so does the adverb clause. For example, they rested when the evening came. Here, when the evening came is a clause as it has a subject evening and verb came, and it is describing verb rested. So it's an adverb clause. Let's look into one more example. I will give you a map so that you can find a way. Here, so that you can find a way is a clause as it has a subject and a verb and is describing the act of giving, which is a verb. So basically this clause does the work of an adverb. That's all about clauses in this video. Let's quickly revise what we have learnt in this video. Firstly, we learnt what is a clause. So a clause is a group of words with a subject and verb combination and has a meaning by itself. Then we discussed about two types of clauses, independent clause and dependent clause. Finally, we discussed about three types of dependent clauses, which are noun clause, which act as a noun in the sentence, adjective clause, which acts as an adjective in the sentence, and adverb clause, which acts as an adverb in the sentence. That's all in this video. Thank you for watching the video. Please message me in the comments if you have any questions, suggestions, or need any grammar lesson. Please hit the like button.
Oh, that's it. That's it. No more advertisements. Okay. I see a few new faces. Abdul Moiz, I'd like to have a look at you, bete.
Mm,
And for some reason, Abdul Moiz, can you please switch on your cam so I have a look at you, bete? I hope the video was informative enough. The purpose
yes,
was
it was nice, ma'am.
Anna, the purpose was to make you people understand the concept of the two kinds of clauses and the clause itself. The reason why couple of times I mentioned that the person is a foreigner, especially from our neighboring country, is because honestly, last year I would post such resource videos, and parents were a bit upset, saying that the teacher posts Indian content. The thing is, my perception is, you need to learn. If you can learn from a good source, why not? Thank you, Abdul Moiz. It was a pleasure to look at you. Okay, it's just that I want you guys to switch on the camera so that, inshallah, after like most probably from 7th June, our lessons will begin in the class. We will have our physical classes. I should know you guys by face. Okay, if you will not switch on your cameras, I wouldn't know who I am teaching. And it's not nice if a teacher doesn't know a child by his face. If I cannot connect the name to the face, I feel embarrassed. Okay, so I should know. Acha. So again, I will post today's lesson on Google Classroom, and I'll post a worksheet along with it. It's going to be a simple worksheet. I'm sure you will be able to identify and work it out on
Ma'am?
your own. Yes, sweetheart.
done my report writing. It is here.
Very good. Acha. What I want to do is, I'll ask you guys, if you have done your report, I'd like you to take a nice and clear picture of it and share it with me personally on my, send a private message to me. Okay, my number is already there in your WhatsApp group. Send a picture of your work on my WhatsApp number. Okay, so that I can read through it and I can give you my comments of like simply my opinion on your work. Okay, remember Friday is the last day to hand in your report writing. I have received Simona's today. I presume you did it yesterday, Simona.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, she sent it yesterday. I didn't have the time because it was only a little while ago that I checked my WhatsApp, and that's when I found out that Simona has done her work. I will read it and I'll give you my comments. For the rest of you, you have time till tomorrow to write down your reports and share a nice and clear picture of your report so I can read it and give my opinion, give my comments on it. Okay. Thank you so very much, dears. Inshallah, we will meet again tomorrow. Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz, ma'am.